Hey guys, it's Bekah with Seek Outside. Today we're going to talk about factory blemished gear. Factory blemished gear is gear we've deemed to not be of first quality. You've probably heard other companies call this a seconds. So our factory blemished gear is the same thing. All of the issues that come with these factory blemished pieces of gear are purely cosmetic. We would never sell you anything we wouldn't use ourselves, and all of our factory blemished gear comes with our full manufacturer's warranty. Okay, let's go over some issues that you might find on a factory blemished tent. So first thing that happens all the time are stitch holes. So you're going to find holes somewhere on a seam. It could be anywhere on your tent, on one side of the seam or the other. It's typically like 1 to 2 inches that you'll find them. The way to fix that is just to take a little tube of our sill net and dab it on both sides so it plugs up the hole, no leaks, and you're good to go. The next most common thing that happens are wavy seams. So this happens often when we're training new seamstresses. They're getting the feel for the machine and the seam just gets a little bit wavy. So I have a small example of one here. You can see that it's nice and straight here and it just kind of jogs off a little bit there. I know it's hard to tell, but I assure you that's there. Something else that happens somewhat frequently is something we call a nip slip. Yes, a nip slip. So we use these little tiny scissors called nippers to trim excess or loose thread on seams and other parts of your shelter. And sometimes that little nipper slips a little bit and it can cut a small hole in the fabric. So what we do is we actually take fabric that's similar to your zipper flap and we create a little patch. I have never seen a patch larger than a dime. The next thing we're going to look at is the SOD skirt down here. So sometimes you might get a shelter that has a couple extra inches of fabric on one panel or another, and it might not be throughout the whole tent. You might have one panel where the SOD skirt is just a little bit shorter than the other. Something else we often find in our inspection process is something we call a tuck. So that means that maybe this panel, a little piece of this panel got tucked into this seam, and it's going to kind of look like that. I can't quite grab it, but it'll cause a ripple to come across on your panel, but it won't affect the structural integrity of your shelter. The last thing I'm going to cover today are returns. When we receive a return, it gets inspected, and sometimes we find it showing some obvious signs of use. As long as there's no damage, a slightly used return will end up in the blemished gear.